Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Portal. Today, we wanted to share a little bit of our experience with going to GalaxyCon last weekend. Um, I want to say, this is the first time that they had it in Richmond that it's 4 days long. It's usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but this year they did Thursday. And we were there all 4 days, did quite a few of the panels, which we shared while we were there. And we just wanted to give our opinion of what we thought about GalaxyCon for this 4 day weekend. So, first of all, what did you think about this year's con?
I love Galaxy Con. I am one of those people that really like the bigger cons. The small ones are a little homey, yes, but I like seeing action everywhere. I like seeing the stars. I like seeing the non-stars panels. I like seeing the costumes. I like seeing the dealer's room. I love GalaxyCon. So every year for the past, I don't know how many years, Mark and I usually go to the Richmond one, when we can afford it pretty much. And I enjoy going. I just love it. Love everything about it. Almost. There's a few things that I'll change.
Okay. Yeah, I have to say, I thought this was a pretty good con this year. Since it came back after COVID, it seems to be that there are more people there. And I think that's why they're added an extra day, which, it was fine. We were there, um, quite a bit of things to do. And like my wife says, I like that you get to see some of the stars. It's not just focusing on one particular genre. So it's not like just a, comic book con or a Star Wars or Star Trek con. They actually have different areas. So they have anime, they have the comic books. They also have different. I want to say it's not just Star Trek. So of course, William Shatner's usually always there every year, but this year they had Vincent D'Onofrio from Daredevil. He was there, and then they have a lot of different actors. So they had the cast of Twilight. The majority of them were there, which was nice to see. Uh, and I know in the past they even had what is the show? Boy Meets World. They had the cast of them. They were there along with the guy that does the voice of Shaggy and Scooby. They had all of those people there as well. So they don't just focus on one specific genre when they come. They have something there for everyone. There are a few things that I dislike as well. Based on what they used to do and then what they have now. I think those things are a little bit different. But all in all, I still enjoy myself. Um, who was like? I'd like to know who was your favorite person or that you got to see panel wise this year.
Oh my goodness. Um, I'll have to say the guy from Daredevil. I actually really liked his panel. About a week or two before this con, I actually decided when I heard that he was coming and everybody was talking about, Born Again Daredevil, I decided to watch the series and enjoyed it so much that, I can honestly say I watched it Tuesday night right after it went off. His panel was really good. I mean, considering his character in that movie, in that TV show, in Men in Black, I just didn't put two and two together. He came out and his voice was his normal voice, and I just would have never guessed his character on screen was obviously a lot different than his personal character. I thought his panel was really, really good.
Yeah, I have to say Vincent D'Onofrio, the guy that plays Kingpin, he did have a really good panel. Others that I've enjoyed because I do watch wrestling. So they had a few wrestlers there that we did get to talk to. My brother-in-law and his daughter also came with us, so he got to talk to what is his name? I can't even think of it. But he got to speak with one of the wrestlers there that and the guy was real personal, which was really great. He gave his daughter a little toy when he walked up to the table. He talked about being a father and what he went through with when COVID was around. And he spent more time with his kids, and so I thought that was great. We also went to a few non-celebrity panels, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I guess the one that had the most interest, or at least people had a lot to say about, was for me, it seemed like it was the Jewish people in comics, which I never thought about, you know, Jewish representation when it comes to comics as and how that's translating into movies from the comic books. So that was something once I sat through it and they had the discussion, it made me think a little bit more about that. I thought they were going to come from the writer side where Jewish people write comics instead of coming from the actual character side. What about you? What was your non-famous um, panel that you
Oh my
enjoyed?
goodness, non-famous.
Yeah.
I don't know how to be able to answer that. I mean, there was just a few panels that I was, rather bored, and I think that was just mainly I really wasn't into the panel. I more was going because Mark here wanted to go. Um, I know we did one on the Batman one. I thought that was interesting panel. We usually go to the Disney panel, but we didn't actually make that one this time. I know my niece spoke to the young lady that played Dora, and she thought that was just great. We walked up to her table, and she did, the little Dora voice that it was really that my niece just got a really big kick about. So I mean, I like panels, so I can't really say that one was better than the other one. I thoroughly enjoyed most of them. Just a few where I just can't say that it was a bad panel. It was just a panel that I might not be necessarily interested
Okay. The I can definitely understand that. The person's name was Booker T. He was the guy that my brother-in-law talked to for a little while, which I thought he was fantastic. Um, I guess the other thing that we've noticed, I was going to say the lines were pretty long. I actually have a picture of the line where when this was Saturday, and this is the street, so it's funny because this is a one-way street between the two buildings of the con, and they block the street off so that they can get all these people there that are trying to get into the building. And we got there extra early, like around 8.
in. Yeah.
Didn't even open till 10, so that we can get a park. And then we took pictures while we were waiting to get in of the people that still had to pay to get their ticket to get in. So this was one of the longest lines, and I don't know what time that line ended because it was pretty long that whole
Yeah.
day just for about. Um, Now, as well, it was like I said, there's so much cosplay. So this person was doing a Star Trek person, and then like I said, we had Daredevil, and this is at the Vincent D'Onofrio panel, which is the reason I thought this was awesome. So you can see just about any type of person that is at this convention. And again, it's not just the people and stuff like that. They have so many vendors out here that you can lose so much money. And it's funny because one of the things that I don't like about it, I used to get my hats behind me from these conventions, from GalaxyCon, and now they switch. I only like pretty much DC or Marvel hats, but they only do anime hats now, and I don't really do those. So that's one thing I have a hard time trying to find hats now. Is there anything that you usually buy that you can't find anymore at these conventions?
Well, I'm a big Star Trek girl, And even though William Shatner was there, I kind of feel like it wasn't a lot of Star Trek stuff there. I think I was kind of disappointed considering we have a lot of big movies that's coming out this summer. You know, the Fantastic Four and and Superman. And I kind of feel like even though this is a everybody's convention, not just superheroes and not just sci-fi and not just anime, they focus a lot on anime. I've been to NecaCon quite a few times, and I just kind of feel like I don't know if that's just the major market now, but just very, very disappointed that I didn't see as many items that I wanted to buy. Being a Star Trek person, or even a Star Wars and Marvel, they had a little bit here and there, but I swear every table had something with anime and the artists and the people, the voice actors. It was just so much anime. Now, granted, I'm going to go next year, and Mark and I is going to RallyCon in July. I'm still going to go, but I just kind of wish with these major movies that's about to come out that they'll have a little bit more where I'd be willing to spend money than just mostly anime
Yeah, I have to agree. Now, we did purchase a few things finally while we were there that was not anime. So my wife found the first thing that she got was
stuff.
this. She has these chimes, and okay, so it spreads out. Oops, how does it spread?
I don't spray it on. I don't want you to break it.
Okay,
I didn't
so
say that on camera.
it's actually the Enterprise. And so we're gonna hang this up someplace. And then this
I'm
one
gonna put it in my car.
she's gonna put in the car. So it also still spreads, but as you can see, it's got the Enterprise on it, and she'll have that in her window. I didn't find anything like that. I did actually get a light that I'm gonna hang up, which my wife got one as well. But this one is mine, and it's the Superman, and it lights up in red. So I absolutely love this. I just got to figure out where I'm going to put it at. As soon as yeah, and that's the picture of what it looks like lit up. And then my wife got the the Star Trek one.
Oh Lord.
I'm sorry, Star Trek one right above the Superman one, and hers lights up in blue. So we just have to figure out where we're going to place these at. But those were the that's actually the one thing I did buy, and I actually did find a Star Wars hat that I didn't have that they actually had, and it was the last one, so I purchased that. So that was pretty much what we did purchase wise. Now, when it comes to the panel or the con, like I said, it's 4 days long, and they break down pretty much everything where you can either check it out online so you know exactly what you want to do, but they also give you a book when you first get there. Now, the book is broken down to let you know who's at the con, and it tells you the hours. So it tells you who is actually at the con, and then it tells you the hours for the con. So, when you look at it, it is quite a big book. And the one thing that I have noticed, which is kind of hard at times, because like I said, it's thick and they have so many guests and so many panels that there can be stuff going on at the same time that you would like to see. Now, I did do that once. We did a half an hour at one panel, and then we take the last 30 minutes and go see the other panel so we can actually try to get both of them in. But it breaks it down by the hours, who's going to be where, what room, and it's quite big where one panel can be in one building and the other panel can be in a different building downstairs, and it takes a while to walk from one to the other because everybody's walking someplace during these panels. Were there any that panels that you felt like you missed because something else was going on at the same time?
I can't really think of the ones that I've missed and wanted to see, but an example when he came to the panels, let's say there was a Star Trek panel at 1 o'clock and they were discussing the Borg. At 1:30, they could be having another Star Trek panel discussing the Klingons. So I know there was a few times where I was like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. I like Star Trek. I would want to see both panels, but then there would have been no way for me to see both of them because they're within 15 minutes or 30 minutes of each other. So I don't know if they did that just because there were so many people there, or if it was even to the point to where who was deciding on the times of some of these panels where they just didn't put two and two together. It could have been a missight. But for me, that would be kind of a negative. I wouldn't want to have two Star Trek, Star Wars, X Men, whatever panel, even though they're different panels, it's pretty much the same subject at the same time. Do one at one and the other one at 2:15, not at the same time.
Yeah, I have to agree. They, for me, I just noticed that if you wanted to see one of the stars that was there, they usually try to put the stars in the main room or the ballroom, which is the biggest room. But there were times that they would put them in a smaller room up against another star that was in the bigger room. So I was going to say we went to Cactus Jack. I sat there for about 30 minutes because we had to miss the first half because somebody else was in. We did the same thing where we were sitting at one panel, and then the guy that plays the White Martian from Supergirl was in another panel, and we got there late because we were at another panel at that time. So that happened a few different times where we would start off at one room and then we'd have to run down the hall to another room, and then we'd end up in the back, which was harder to see what was going, to see or talk to him. There was no way you were going to get a question answered because if you didn't get there and line up before the show started, some of those people they just didn't have time to answer the question. So that part was a little disappointing, I would say. Um, and like my wife said earlier about Vincent D'Onofrio, one guy came to the show with his daughter. He says he comes every year, and he had a question that his wife wanted to ask because she loves him, but he didn't get a chance to ask. So Vincent actually told him call his wife up on FaceTime, which he did, and she got to ask her question face to face with him, and he answered it for her while she was talking to him live. And I thought that was
That
so
was
cool.
cool.
I absolutely love that because he spent time to do that for the guy. So yeah, these people they always say, and he said it before he ended. He was like, the reason that he comes is so that he can meet these people, which was the same thing that the guy from Harry Potter said. He's a fan of these conventions because he gets to see the other side. That people love what he's done, and that was Malfoy's father
Hmm.
who said that because he was like most people don't know if what they did resonated with other people. So that's the one thing I do have to say. I do like to see the stars when they talk to people. Um, we had a bad experience with one star, but we'll just let that one slide. But other than that, everybody that we spoke with was so cool. Anything else you want to say?
Well, I know he put a picture on when we went on Saturday, and it wasn't like that. Those lines wasn't like that on Thursday and Friday. Thursday obviously was the first day, and the lines. I mean, we got there probably maybe about 2-ish, 3-ish, and got in. got our ticket, and it was able to do what we wanted to do. Even Friday, the line wasn't bad. So that picture, just keep in mind that it was just for Saturday, where I don't know how many people and how many tickets they sold, but it was a lot of people. Now, keep in mind, in Richmond, GalaxyCon, you have to pay to park. So when we got there on Saturday, we had to get there at about 8 o'clock, wait around in the parking lot for 2 hours. That's where we took some of pictures. So we wouldn't have to pay to, well, so we could find a closed parking space because Mark and I usually carry food and drinks. We'll keep it in the car, and I said he, will go back to the car and get, our food that we're going to eat for lunch and snacks and drinks. I know the parking for that Thursday and Friday, we paid $20 each day. That Saturday we paid eight, and I don't remember how much we paid for Sunday.
16.
16. But once we get there, we don't leave because I paid $20 to park. I don't want to have to leave and then come back and have to pay another $20 to park. Or especially on Saturday, you might not. I mean, I don't know where you would park, and that would make us unable to want to go to and from the car. I mean, the hours for Thursday from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday was from 10 to 2 a.m. and then Sunday from 10 to 8. So you got to bring some food. I know my brother and his daughter did buy something and they split it, and
$16
yeah,
for four chicken nuggets and fries.
and he said it was pretty good, but it's just to the point.
$16.
It was $16 for one meal, where Mark and I, we bought sandwiches, we bought snacks, we had our drinks. We kind of saved money doing that. And when we were hungry or thirsty, we just went back to the car because you don't want to move your car once you get there. There were some little small restaurants where in the past we left and we just walked there,
That
and
wasn't here. That was
that
Raleigh.
wasn't. Oh,
That was
well,
Raleigh.
they all kind of
Yeah.
blend together.
Yeah.
But even in Raleigh, you still have to pay to park.
True.
So I definitely suggest if you go to either Richmond or Raleigh, bring your food. It's almost worth getting there early and just do like we do. Just have your food in your car and just, walk out and get it.
Yeah, I have to agree. The Saturday parking, we actually got to park inside the convention, which was the cheapest place to park. Of course, that sells out the first. So that was $8 to park in the convention center. So I could just walk to the car without leaving the building. Um, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, we parked at the hotel across the street, which was still,
Pretty
it's
close.
it's
Yeah.
right there, and it wasn't a far walk at all. But it cost more to park at the hotel than it was to park in the convention center. So that part, that was the only issue. I could walk across the street. I would get the food out of the cooler, and then I just walk back in. Now, it does say no outside food or drink, but they don't seem to follow that or enforce that rule. So that's why we just have little ham and cheese sandwiches. We can eat that. We have crackers, and then we have, like we said, bottled water, bottled drinks. It saves quite a bit of money, but and I would say in the past they have had food trucks out there, but this year they didn't have any food trucks.
That was Raleigh.
Yeah,
That was
well, okay. So yeah, well, yeah. There's no place. There's places that are somewhat close around because we did go to Panera Bread, but we drove over there and got a sandwich and brought back.
But we did that right after we left, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like this area, Hampton Roads, Convention Center, the plaques over there in Virginia Beach, where up the street there's a McDonald's. A lot of these restaurants in Raleigh and in Richmond are kind of mom and pop places. Not that there's anything negative on it, but I personally like to. I mean, yeah, it's McDonald's, but I know what the quarter pounder with cheese tastes like, so I might want to venture there versus a mom and pop place that I don't know if I'm gonna like, and then if I pay for it, and if I'm paying $25 for a sandwich and fries, now I'm stuck with this and I'm still hungry.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, all in all, we had a great experience. Um, would say, if you get a hotel close to the convention center, they do have some specials, but the hotels around that area are a little bit more
A
expensive.
lot more expensive.
So, yeah, we actually stayed at a hotel that was closer to the airport, and there were so many people there at the convention that stayed at this hotel. A few of the vendors were there, as well as some of the people that were seeing, that were partaking of the convention were there as well. As we talked to a few people, they were talking to us about, going to the convention. I didn't see them there, but we saw them at breakfast and talked to them about what we were doing.
And we paid about $100 a night
Yes.
compared to if you stayed at the Marriott, which is right connected to the convention. I want to say the
I think it was.
last one was almost $400 or $500. Of course, if you decided to go, which we didn't do this time, so we usually, we stayed at a different hotel. We usually try to book the hotel as early as possible. Of course, as you get closer and closer to the convention, then the time wise and the time to get there, of course, is going to be more money. So I definitely suggest if you do decide to go, the second you make that choice, go ahead and book the hotel. Most hotels, you can get your money back just in case you're unable to get the ticket. Just depends on what kind of hotel you get. But don't wait to the last minute because if you do, oh my God.
Yeah, that's true though. They can be quite expensive. I know we've got our tickets. I think they were 25% off at the time that we purchased them. We'll probably be getting our tickets for next year soon. They've already set the date for that as well. And periodically, GalaxyCon lets you know as they book new, um, people that are coming. They post that on their website so that you know who's going to be there each year. So if you're looking at, GalaxyCon Rally, you can start seeing the guests that they have planned to be there. And they don't tell you the actual, what is it, the show times up until
Schedule.
the schedule doesn't come out until probably what, maybe 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh no, not even 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, you know who's going to be there. They're still releasing guests up until about a week or so. So if I recall, they don't actually put the schedule out till about a week or so
Okay.
um, before the actual convention. Because I do remember this past year, you and I, once we got the link saying that it's the schedule's out, which is on Facebook. So go to GalaxyCon Richmond, GalaxyCon Raleigh to get a lot of the information on who's coming, and when the link is up, Mark and I usually download the app that they have, and we go ahead on our phones set who we want to see and then the time so we can make a plan. You gotta do that when you go to Richmond or RallyCon because it's so big and so many things. Sometimes you have to decide, do I want to see this person over that person? And you have to have a schedule so you can make that determination.
Yeah, that's true. So we do try to read it beforehand so that we're not just wandering around aimlessly trying to figure out what we're going to do. And we like we do normally, we set time aside that we're going to go to the dealer's room. Now, it's quite big, so when we do walk through the dealer's room, we try to walk half at one time. Then we look at the time again to see if we need to leave, and then a day later we may walk the next half of the room because there's quite a few people there. So you know, we do spend some time there. It just takes a few days to walk the whole thing. And then the saddest thing is if you do see something that you like, you might want to pick it up as soon as possible because they could sell out of it, or you can forget where you saw that person at. So I've done that and then couldn't find where we were at one time to try to get something that we wanted. Anything you want to say in closing before we end?
No, I just say, definitely go. I mean, it's a little expensive if you think about, of course we had to buy two tickets, we stayed 3 nights, so it can be expensive, but you can also save by getting there early, finding a decent spot to park, bringing in your own food, and just having a budget. We don't overspend, at all. I have enough junk. I'm not gonna call it junk, but I got enough items from all the conventions that I've gone before in the past. So I don't need to spend $100 like I've done before. I'll walk around, decide what I want to buy, and go ahead and buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you have a budget. If you want to get an autograph or anything like that, try to set that up before you go so that you don't have to worry about waiting in a line to do something that you weren't expecting to do. I have an autograph that I have that I got, my daughter paid for, and then because I talked to the voice actor for GI Joe, I love that. My daughter has a picture with the
Bruce, Doctor Who guy.
the Doctor Who. So yeah, so she Jack Hartness.
Yes.
So they're dressed in the same dress. So she loves that picture. But yeah, we have a good time. Make sure you, like I said, have a budget. Try to bring your own food so that you don't have to worry about that. Think about where you want to park. Also, make sure you have on comfortable clothes that you're willing to wear all day. I mean, all day. If you can change, yeah, go ahead and change. But think about what you're wearing, stuff like that. I guess that's
Yeah,
pretty much it.
I think that's it. And I totally agree with the costumes. There was a few costumes that I wanted to wear, but it can get quite cold in there with all those people in there. So I couldn't really wear what I wanted to wear because, if I gotta have a hoodie or a jacket on, then why I'm wearing the costume. So that was just a little disappointing for me. But by getting there early and have an early park, just have the clothes inside your car. And if I chose to, do that, I can just go out to the car, change there, or just bring it back in, change, and make another. Well, he'll make another trip to the car, or just wear something that's comfortable that you don't have a problem wearing all day. Because if I'm spending $150 for just my ticket, I'm going to be there all day until I am ready to fall out. Or I'm just starving because I'm tired of eating a ham and cheese sandwich.
Well, I think that's pretty much covers it. I guess join us next time when we'll either be discussing a new movie that should be coming out soon.
Minecraft.
I'm not going to see that, but something new, that we'll bring up to you at that time. Okay. Thanks, everybody, and good night.
Good night.